Hi everyone and welcome to a midweek astrology update brought to you by 1millionnights.com. Today we have a really active and powerful sky because regardless of where we are in the world, for some of us this new moon takes place today, for others it took place yesterday, but its energies are still lingering in the sky, so basically it doesn't really matter. We can consider the new moon to be still pretty much active, and the grand fire trine it forms with other very significant power players can represent a very powerful influence today and all throughout the rest of the week, where one of the components of this fire trine is naturally Mars from its home sign of Aries, and also it's not alone, it is also conjunct Eris, the female awakener, goddess of discord, chaos. So this is an extremely potent Mars, forming a conversation of supreme harmony with the Sun, the Moon, and also Mercury in the sign of Leo. That is also a really powerful influence, because the Sun is also in its home of Leo. The Moon completes this astrological picture with the influence, the presence, and the unlimited power of the soul, and naturally Mercury is the mind. So what a really powerful astrological cocktail. The Sun is the ego, the light of our consciousness. When I say ego, it is in a good way. The Moon is the soul, basically, our emotional world, and Mercury the mind. So what a really powerful alignment. And then we head on to the last fire sign, Sagittarius, where we have the South Node, also very powerful because this is its natural house in the sky, the sign of Sagittarius, and the South Node is the past, the past karma, the lessons of the past. On one hand, that can represent a danger for us to repeat all these mistakes, but from a totally different expression, it is valuable wisdom because it is already learned and embodied life experience, and all it takes for us is just to will to embody the wisdom and the life experience that we gain from the past, and then we already turn it into its most favorable and positive expression. And of course the South Node is not alone in the sky, it is conjunct the galactic center, so that is an infusion of unlimited and infinite creational energy, basically the source or the heart of the cosmos, so to speak. So what a really powerful energy we have today. Now naturally Mars is a very influential power player here because it is the activator. It is the planet which energizes other astrological configurations, other planets, other points in the sky, the signs or karmic points. So this Mars speaks about action, courage, willpower, inner determination, energy, drive. So even psychologically, even karmically, even physically, it is a very action-oriented power, and basically it can promise very, very quick manifestation or progress or momentum. But of course Mars also holds a rather unfavorable celestial conversation with Pluto and Saturn, and speaking from the sign of Capricorn. So this energy adds a lot of challenges, a lot of inner or outer turmoils, problems, conflicts that we need to be confronted with, accept it, and then either surrender or somehow change it. Because Saturn represents all the limitations, it can represent all the blockages, the rules and regulations which basically take away our liberty, take away our true freedom. And Pluto is the higher octave of Mars, so it can spell very powerful truths or secrets being revealed, which can be inner or outer. For example, inner, it can be, for example, a trauma, a blockage, a secret that basically we weren't aware of it, or maybe an action or a psychological pattern that was all the time very much alive inside of us, but we simply weren't aware that we were doing it. it took a reflection, for example, the reflection of another person or what another person projected onto us, which opened our eyes and allowed us to witness ourselves and our actions, whatever we are doing subliminally. But of course, the outer expression of this Pluto, it is very straightforward. Everything that is going on in centralized power, all the political secrets being revealed, and you know, Pluto is also very sexual energy, so all the pedophilia cases, everything that basically has the world burning in anger. So what I'm trying to say here is that yes, the Grand Fire Trine is a massive blessing. It is courage, it is energy, it is inspiration, it is motivation, self-confidence. It gives us the power to believe in ourselves. But we may not necessarily have the luxury to use that power and the blessing to accomplish whatever we desire. And you know, the Sun in Leo does suggest that we should be using it that way because that is why it's a blessing. But unfortunately, the conversation of tension between Mars, the lower malefic, and Saturn, the greater malefic, well, that might also force us to use the celestial empowerment to solve all our problems, to overcome all our limitations, to surrender our obsessions, to purify our desires, and just wash away all the illusions, manipulations, control, and you know, the power and the grip other people have over us, to wash these off from our beings, to declutter our lives. So you know, it is a very dual energy, because on one hand it is a massive power that we can use in so very many different ways. For example, it can be fantastic for artists and creative people, because the sign of Leo has much to do with creativity, self-expression. But because of the Saturn-Mars square, we might be forced kind of to use this energy to solve the problems, to take care of our limitations, or at least to align with an inner truth that can empower us and guide us. But of course, everything in the sky has more than one side to it. Even a trine, because it is a blessing, it is a free blessing basically. It really depends if we can actually use it in a very positive way, because a massive empowerment, if we are unwise or if we are very troubled, well, it can be a curse as well. It can very quickly turn into a curse. Let me just give you an example. You know, for those people who are in a Freudian kind of depression, where their frustrations, not getting what they want, low self-worth, inner conflict, if you know, a person like this is greatly empowered by this very powerful Mars and the Sun and all of these other planets, well, it can make their depression even worse. So you know, you have to, it depends on you to add a touch of optimism or realism to your story, to whatever you're doing, to your state of awareness, state of being, emotional state, in order to actually turn this energy into the blessing it is meant. Because otherwise it will just start making your depression, frustration, anxiety even worse. So this does require a lot of self-knowledge. It is only a blessing if you know yourself and if you know how to convert free energy, free power, momentum, inspiration that comes from the heavens into something really positive. Equally, another negative side of this energy, which of course it is just a potential, is that, you know, if criminals and people who are naturally extremely self-confident and selfish are greatly empowered by this energy, well, that can just represent even more conflict. If they are much braver than they usually are, well, you know, that can play out as violence, crimes. South Node in Sagittarius can also represent religious fanaticism, dogmas, blindness, etc. So it can represent also terrorist act or something really unpleasant. And also, because this is a very powerful concentration of fire energy, because it's not just a grand fire trine, it is a grand fire trine that is held by numerous planets, not just 3. It can also represent the energy of fire, the fire element, running out of control a little bit. So that can represent explosions, fire hazards, forest fires, the destructive element of fire. So what I'm actually trying to say with this is, even though this is a big blessing and everything today and the next couple of days is going to feel really, really intense, it is up to us what we do with that intensity. Because, when that intensity kind of hurts us, or it is very inconvenient for us, well, we can alchemize it into something else, something that we can actually find useful and helpful, but that depends on our wisdom and our awareness, and the keyword in everything is self-knowledge. Now, a totally other side of this energy, which can be really optimistic, delightful, and surprising, is that at this time, even though Uranus and Venus don't converse with this grand fire trine, the new moon, they still hold a very beautiful celestial conversation, which astrologers call a sextile together, Uranus from the sign of Taurus and Venus from the sign of Cancer, and Venus is the natural ruler of Taurus. So this can represent a lot of surprises. For example, gifts, gestures of kindness, flattery, compliments, honors, love, appreciation, solidarity from your family, from your friends, even from total strangers. It can represent unexpected, as a flash of an insight, kind of business ideas, epiphanies, sudden realizations, all the right ideas. This has a very powerful financial side to this, because Venus has much to do with currency, value, worth, and Uranus is in the home sign of Taurus, which is also our value systems and the natural ruler of the second house, which means our acquisitions and our wealth, so to speak. So this can turn out for some people as the most ingenious business ideas, plans, or simply a foresight what they need to do, or maybe a celestial invitation to do a specific gesture, follow a specific course of action. But on the other hand, it can also be romantic surprises, flirtation, getting connected with really unusual, unique, inspirational people. It can also represent, new romantic relationships, new friendships, new alliances, two people, for example, coming together who can just inspire each other in a very strong manner. So this also has a very positive side to it. And if we take the grand fire trine into consideration, well, that is a blessing of courage, a blessing of a very persuasive manner of communication. So this is really good news for even those people who are really, really shy, who don't really like to engage in flirts, conversations, who just shy away from invitations and, romantic kind of stuff. Because, people who might be genuinely interested in you might have a lot of courage and determination right now to get through to you. So this can be a really good romantic time for everyone equally. Or, another situation, someone who is naturally shy can just find the courage to go out and express themselves, maybe engage another person who they fancy, and you can never know with Uranus, surprises are guaranteed. And it's not just Uranus alone, because the Sun also holds quincunxes, minor astrological influences, which can give birth to either humorous situations, delight, surprises, but of course awkward or shameful moments. So the Sun speaks in this manner with Saturn, so this can be financial surprises, this can be offers of help or job offers, career offers. It can also be financial rewards coming from the distant past, but equally financial obligations which have to be fulfilled that stem from the distant past. It can also represent expenses. And the Sun also holds this type of conversation with Pluto. So this can represent unexpected endings, unexpected truths coming out. This can also represent unexpected sexual energy, for example. But it can also be something really innocent, like someone who has feelings, just revealing their feelings out of nowhere, unexpectedly. And, it can give birth to surprises, delights, or very awkward moments. This energy has also the prayer of serenity written all over it. Because, a very powerful Mars with Pluto can also very much represent the strength, the ambition, and the wisdom needed to surrender something, even if you have to just fight your own desires, even if you genuinely deserve something, because maybe you have worked for it. But when the, outer reality, when life, when, the times that we live in just tell you that it's really not a good time, it's not gonna be a massive harvest, it's not gonna turn to success, you're not gonna have your will or your way, well then you have to use this celestial empowerment to surrender. And of course Pluto might provide, and with Saturn of course, the wisdom to surrender and wait for a more appropriate moment. So as I said, the prayer of serenity: give me the power to change what I can change, give me the power to surrender what I cannot change, and give me the blessing of knowledge to know the difference between the two. So this might be a very important theme for all of us in this present moment, because everyone has diverse things in their lives going on. Some things has to be followed up with ambition, action, choices, power, investment of power and focus. Other things simply have to be surrendered, especially when we have no power over it, we have no options in our lives. Well, then we just have to go with the flow. We cannot stand against the world as Don Quixote, for example, until the eternity of time, because that is a very self-defeating goal. So this is where we truly have to tap into our wisdom, into our analytical powers, and just analyze what it is that we need to give up, what simply doesn't and will never work in our lives, or at least in these times, in these pivotal times when everything is changing, and what it is that we can accomplish, and investing power, strength into it would be actually quite wise, because Saturn also rewards. It fills our lives with temptations, hardships, challenges, very strong lessons. But if we do pass the Saturnian exam, so to speak, then it doesn't fail to reward, because there is a certain sense of honor, dignity, and justice to Saturn. So, the ancients, especially in medieval times, it was considered as a very evil power, bringer of death, diseases, depression, loneliness, severe loneliness, all the bad things in life. But that was just the way people in the medieval ages saw Saturn, because that was how it kind of played out in their lives. Let's not forget that those people may have had some kind of alchemical knowledge, but that doesn't mean that it was wise. It didn't mean that it was totally rational, and because of religion, they had a certain kind of limitation to how far their vision and life philosophies could extend. But now in modern times, we know that Saturn is really beneficial and it rewards. It actually works in our greatest good, because it teaches us responsibility, dignity, it teaches us the spirit of sacrifice, and also when we have to serve ourselves, because the biggest lesson of Saturn is that we are responsible for our own well-beings, mind, spirit, body, everything. That should be our main roles in this life, because helping others and sacrificing for others is needed, absolutely. But if we have nothing to sacrifice, if we even squander away our liberty, our life force, everything that is precious from inside of us, then that can never turn into a good karma, because, that is almost like a gesture that you reject the gifts of the universe. When the universe gave you wisdom, knowledge, intelligence, a healthy, strong physical body, or any kind of blessing that you were born with, well, it is your primarily duty to take care of that, put it into service, but also withdraw it from service when other people might abuse from it. And it kind of took the year 2020 for Saturn to teach us this lesson in a, let's just say, unforgettable way, something that we won't forget for as long as we live. And the party hasn't even begun yet, because very soon we might have a quiet moment, because the Sun and Mercury are going to move into the sign of Virgo, where as they progress, they make their transit, they're going to hold trines with the Capricorn planet, so that can be a time of fruition when we harvest, when we, accept our blessings. But afterwards, Mars will start to reform the square with the Capricorn planets and meet again with Aries in retrograde motion. So that will be another very turbulent episode of 2020. So let's just enjoy the peace and quiet in the following weeks, as long as it's there, as long as it's available. Well, this concludes your energy update. Thank you so much for listening. Remember, if you would like a personal reading, just log on to 1millionnights.com and find your dedicated advisor. Thank you again. Wish everyone a blessed and safe day, and have a wonderful and magical new moon. And do not forget to set your seeds of intention, to set your goals, your focus, because that is how the new moon works.